Okay, Nick, so I'm about to head down to Walmart and get some ice cream. Any suggestions? Walmart's in a little bit of hot water recently because they put out an ice cream from they put it under their Great Value brand. And this one was called Celebration Edition Juneteenth Ice Cream.
Yeah. I mean, that's ballsy.
Yeah, sure is.
You know what? I just imagine what was the conversation like in the executive room? Like, how did this idea get brought up? And I just would love to know, like, what was said and how all of them came together and was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Like, how did all of that happen? I mean, there had to be one person that was like, this? There had to be a Larry David. Like, there had to be one person.
Well, they apologized for it because there was a backlash about it because it's not like, as far as I know, it wasn't a fundraiser. They weren't doing it to support any cause. It just really seemed like they were exploiting the cause and that it had been in the works for a while, because if you look closely at the pictures of the carton, next to the word Juneteenth is the trademark symbol.
Wow.
So
and we know how long a trademark takes to get.
I know.
And here's the thing. Yeah. How did the government approve this?
I know.
Wow.
Well, when you're Walmart,
because if people are not familiar with it, you have to go through a process to get a trademark. It's not like an easy thing to do. Yeah. And so, I mean, even though people might want to jump on Walmart for this, I mean, they're still pushing this through the government, and they're the ones that gave them the stamp and said, you can own this. I mean,
yeah. And no trademark lawyer said, you guys sure about this? I mean, can you even trademark a holiday? I didn't know you could do that. I didn't even know that. And
I didn't know this whole time I could have owned July 4th, dude, the whole time.
Yeah. Well, we should jump on that right now. That's what we're going to do. 4th of July, brought to you by Superkick Branding. That's going to be, instead of red, white, and blue, it's going to be our brand colors: black, yellow, and pink. Okay, first of all, yes, they're basically exploiting a holiday that is supposed to be celebrating the end of slavery, celebrating Black culture. Here's what makes it even worse. The flavor is swirled red velvet and cheesecake flavored ice cream. Okay. What's the problem with that? Well, they already carry a flavor that is very, very similar to that under the brand Creamalicious. Artisan ice cream. Creamalicious is a Black-owned business, and they have something called Right as Rain red velvet cheesecake. So instead of, they're already carrying it. I saw on the Creamalicious website, it is available at Walmart. All they had to do was push it a little harder, give it its own space on some shelves, maybe put up some in-store cutouts and whatnot, promoting it, encouraging people to buy it, say support Black-owned business. No, they just ripped off the flavor and put it under their crappy little Great Value brand.
Yeah, I mean, they did. First of all, I'm conflicted on this because, one, when I think of Juneteenth, I know what it symbolizes. Just growing up, being biracial myself, having, my father being African-American male. It's like, for me, when I see that holiday, it's like, I don't see it as just African Americans being freed. I see that as like the true independence for everybody, because that's the last day that every American really became free. Right. And every American had independence and really got to be a part of the American dream. So when I see it just being exploited and being minimized that way, it does bother me. It's one of those like I don't think you're allowing this event to be a thing that really galvanizes people and brings us all together. Instead, it's just another just sad attempt at making a dollar, which is now just creating more controversy, which is more divisive. And only that, just from a branding standpoint, it's like it's just so far off their brand. It's just like when I think of Walmart, I just think of a place that you go and get cheap stuff. Like I don't think of it as a place of like political statements. It's just poor taste all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're coming up on really only the second Juneteenth as a federal holiday. And already Walmart is trying to turn it into another President's Day with your car sales and your mattress sales. Like that's not what this holiday is supposed to be about. And it's just gross.
It is gross.
Yeah.
And this goes into some of the issues we've talked about before with companies. Like, how often do they have opposing voices? And the thing about with a company the size of Walmart, they can test these things out first before they even put it out into the market. So this is one of those products that they could have easily ran like a few focus groups and just seeing what the public would think about this and how it could either tarnish or help their brand. And second, this also shows you what we talk about all the time at Brand Outlaw and what we specialize with Superkick Branding. It's about messaging. It's about story. It's like if you're going to put out a product like this and you don't have a meaningful story behind it, it just looks like a money grab. It just looks like you don't care about your customers. And, even though they're so huge, they're going to absorb this. This is not going to bring down Walmart. Like this, it's just not going to stop them from being the global entity that they are. However, for the time being, they're going to have to just face all of this backlash that they're going to receive on social media, just all over the world over this.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to hurt them financially in the long run. And so taking a break from criticizing Walmart for a second, but just to say, what do we as consumers have an obligation to do if we're ones who find this distasteful? Because there are plenty of people who don't even care and are just going to keep shopping at Walmart. And there's some people who say, no, this is not cool. And they might, I mean, they're likely just not big Walmart shoppers to begin with. So instead of even thinking about punishing Walmart, okay, it's easy enough to not buy that ice cream. Maybe we need to do a little work on our own and do something positive and say, okay, maybe instead of just being upset at Walmart, I'm also going to find Creamalicious where I can and buy that flavor, the red velvet or one of their other flavors, and support an actual Black-owned business. And not do it at Walmart because they're carried at Target and other places too. So yeah, I would encourage consumers to think about that as well. Think about being consistent on their own. Walmart broke their brand consistency by doing something like this. So consumers, we need to be consistent too. Do things that line up with our values. And if you really are upset by this, don't just tweet about it. Go out and do something positive too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that you just kind of were talking about here with consumerism and the choices that we can make with our dollars, it's like you just have hit the nail on the head. Like, hey, we buy stories. And it's like, here's a situation where you can make a choice based on a story. Like in this case, Walmart did a poor job with creating a story around why they brought this product out into the market to begin with. And so now you have an opportunity to go learn about Creamalicious' story. And then hopefully, if their story is really engaging and has just so many great elements to it, that people will continue to buy that particular product. And hopefully it's really great tasting as well. So, I mean, I know those two things go hand in hand. But, as consumers, it's like we buy based off of stories. And you have to be willing to tell really engaging stories around your brand. Because one of the questions that I have is, why am I now hearing this story about Creamalicious? Like, I'm just so curious what they did to get people excited about their brand. Because, I mean, I've heard a lot about this Juneteenth, with Walmart, but I haven't heard a lot about the other person's brand. You know what that is?
No, honestly, I just heard about Creamalicious, and I just spent a little bit of time on their website. I was like, okay, this looks great. I haven't tried the ice cream yet.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it's good. I don't know, but I'm curious to try it.
Mm-hmm. And one thought I have is, you have two. This is interesting, right? Because you have two names here that one is very clear who they're targeting and the other is not. And I wonder if the Creamalicious should have leaned into the fact that they're a Black-owned ice cream company. Because if you go and you see it in person, you won't know that right away. Where with Juneteenth, you know what's behind it. I mean, they have the colors, they have the fist, right? They are like, it's that obvious marketing, right? It's the like, I'm just telling you exactly who I'm going after. Where Creamalicious, it's more subtle. It's, it's like red velvet is a pretty popular dessert in that community. However, it's still subtle. You wouldn't really know that without doing some digging to find out who's behind that brand.
Yeah. Although I will say on their website, they do a good job of building a brand story. They talk about 4 generations of recipes. They seem to be positioning themselves as a brand based on heritage and bridging the past to the present with these flavors. They say it's Southern inspired culinary artistry. So they're staking their claim.
But you see what I mean there? Like what you're saying, like you don't automatically know it's African American owned.
Right.
Like when you're sitting there talking about heritage and talking about bringing culinary South to the masses, and that's what I mean. With the other brand, it's obvious. It's like we are not playing around about this. And so, I think it's interesting in a way of like what we talk about with target audience. It's like, do you want people to know who you're talking to or you don't? And in Walmart's case, obviously it backfired. And that's just because we know the people that are behind the brand. We know that there are probably not very many people of color that are decision makers within that corporation. So I can see why there'd be backlash. But the question would be like, would there be backlash if there was more minorities within the decision-making process, right? And then not only that, if there was, they probably would make sure that the story behind it had meaning, very similar to Creamalicious. And if that was the case, when they came out with this particular product, it probably would have had a more positive response than negative. But it's something to think about as someone who's building a brand, like how much should we lean into it? And sometimes I don't think it's a bad thing to let people know, like, hey, I'm a minority business owner. And yes, I want you to know that, but I'm also kind of giving you context behind the heritage, behind why I'm putting this particular product out there, because there's just so many generations before me Like, this is how I would really kind of position it. But I would have leaned into that, like, hey, this is why it's important to know who is the owner of this company, because of all of the traditions that have been passed down to me. And that's why I'm putting this product out into the market.